Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Arlington Experience with Jim Ross. And I'm going to tell you, I feel a little bit funky right now because this is like the student doing this in front of the master. I'm here on the set of All In with Bryan Weatherford, and I'm with a good friend of mine, Bryan Weatherford. Thank you for joining us today. We just finished an episode of All In with Bryan Weatherford. We haven't even gotten out of our chairs, and we're going to do the Arlington Experience with you, but I'm a little bit intimidated, to be honest, because he does this stuff for a living. I don't. So, Bryan, don't hold it against me for messing up an interview now, okay?
I will not hold it against you, but I wanted to have a couple of clarifications here.
All right.
Points of clarification. Number one, you make a lot more money talking for a living than I do with your role as an attorney. And number two, because of that, I'm the one that's intimidated. But the biggest thing is, sitting here on my set for my show, I'm the one that always asks the questions. And so you're feeling obligated. How do you think I'm feeling? But I'm looking forward to it because I have the utmost respect for you. Have this a long time in a variety of ways. I'm ready to answer whatever you want to throw.
I'll be honest, sometimes I feel like we should be sitting up at the bar somewhere and having this conversation like we typically do. But first of all, let's get into a little bit about how you got to doing all of this All In with Bryan Weatherford, because I know you've been doing it for a while, but we go back before these days, back during the days of Alley Cats and everything else. Tell me a little bit about your history in Arlington. How did you get started here? Because it goes way, I'm not saying you're old.
I will.
I'm just saying it goes way back.
Well, let me tell you something. It does go way back, but there's a number I'm really proud of. I am one of the first 5 babies ever born at Arlington Memorial Hospital.
Oh, wow.
Me and the hospital started in 1958. Prior to that, you had to go somewhere else to get born.
Oh, wow. Did they pay the doctors with doctors 2 pigs and a chicken or anything like that?
Chicken, yeah. And actually, they gave one of the pigs back and said, "No, we owe you this." But all that to say is I've grown up in Arlington. I went to Thornton Elementary, Hutchinson Junior High, Sam Houston High School. I graduated from the University of Texas at Arlington. So I'm about as native Arlington as you're ever going to get. And you have been here for 40 years as well. If there's anybody that ever sat in that chair that loves Arlington as much as me, you're the man.
Well, I appreciate
that's one thing we do have in common.
We do have that in common.
But my background, I've always been in the fun. I've always sold fun. I mean, there's a lot of fun to do in Arlington. I spent years with Wet n Wild. Hurricane Harbor used to be Wet n Wild. Before that, I ran putt-putt golf courses around here. The family that owns putt-putt owns Alley Cats in Arlington and Hearst. I worked for them for the last 13 years as their director of marketing and whatnot. But I came on board with this show. So, all right, let me get the breakdown here. So my show is All In with Bryan Weatherford. The network I work with is Biz Television, but the mothership parent company is Center Post Media. And Center Post Media is based here in Arlington. There's actually 3 different networks right here in this building, national networks, that all started here in Arlington. And I just kind of fell into this position, frankly, about 2.5 years ago. I've interviewed a little over 2,300 people now, 2,301 now that I talk to you. But we're here to talk about small businesses and help them to share their stories. We're a content media company. We do that in a variety of ways. My role is to sit with people, put together great video, get it out to all of our viewers, and then they also have an opportunity to get the content to blow it out on their social media as well. I've been talking my whole life, and now I get paid to do it.
As long as I've known you, you've been involved in all kinds of charities all over town, all over the Metroplex. Yeah. And one of the unique things about you is not only do you get involved in giving back, but you participate as an auctioneer at times.
I do, yeah.
And you're a professional auctioneer. Or as close to a professional as you can get. As close to professional
as possible in that, yes, I do get paid on occasion, therefore I am professional. But it's funny, a backstory on that real quick. Me, like you, we've been to a lot of fancy games, black tie parties or whatnot, and more often than not, they'll bring in the professional auctioneer, which is very impressive. I mean, no disrespect. I love the way that they can talk and do their thing, but for that particular environment, frankly, it doesn't work. Because if you don't buy cows for a living, you don't have a clue what's going on. So unfortunately, the people just sit there. They're intimidated to scratch the nose and bid on a trip to Cabo. So instead, they sit on their hands. They don't bid on anything. That doesn't do the charity any good. So I said, nah, enough of this. Give me the mic. And so I get up there and I talk, and I'm kind of funny and quick-witted. I have a dear passion for whatever group I'm working with. But at the end of the day, it loosens people up, and they spend more money. And that's why we do what we do with the charity. It's my spiritual gift to gab.
Well, I've been there where I've been loosened up by your gift to gab,
Yes, you
and
have.
I have written a check or two
Yep.
to do something like that. And I got to be honest, I really appreciate what you do for the charities around town. That's absolutely incredible. So, how long now has All In with Bryan Weatherford been going on?
I've been going on about 2.5 years now. You know, the
Wow.
whole, everything's been here longer than that, but I have been here with the show for 2.5 years. You know, and it's interesting in its own odd way. There's a little bit of a positive, if you will, COVID spin to this, because when COVID first hit for 2.5 months, much like your rest, we're closed. This whole studio is closed. However, the only two people allowed in the entire building were myself and my producer. And so he and I would sit here, and if I'm interviewing Jim Ross and your law firm is on the other side of that wall, you're staying on the other side of the wall. We're zooming you into studio. But because of that, the owners with Centerpost, the management team, realized, you know what? This thing's kind of working. They were looking at building a studio in Austin. So instead, I sit here in Arlington, Texas, through that camera over here, and I interview guests. They're in Austin. I'm here, and we show it in Austin. And then as of last August, we now do the same. We got a pretty cool studio here, right? We only use it on Mondays and Tuesdays back then, but now I'll come in on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and I'll sit right here and interview 8 to 10 people that are in Los Angeles. And we show it on one of our stations in the Los Angeles area. And it's so cool to me as the Arlington guy working for Centerpost Media to be able to sit here to help businesses and charities and whatnot share their stories literally all around the country.
Cool.
And we're growing. We're about to add Atlanta to the list.
That's cool. So when our viewers are wanting to watch all of the All In with Bryan Weatherford's, how do they find you? How do they get on there and find you?
We're on Antenna Television, which a backstory on that real quick. So many people think antenna is old school, like me and you grew up. I used to have a Dallas Cowboy antenna back in the day to watch the games. You remember those days?
I do.
So when I got the show, I said, well, I got to get an antenna. Can't see my show without an antenna. So I go down to Best Buy as the big stud talent guy with my own TV show. I said, hey, I'm on TV now. I need the most expensive antenna you have. Yes, sir. That'll be $24. Okay. So the antenna that I use at home is plugged into the back of my big 70-inch, about the size of that monitor behind you, is plugged in there and literally thumbtacked to the wall. Boom. There's Antenna TV. No monthly cost, no nothing. I have 88 channels, all high definition, sitting right there. So the long answer to the story is you can tune in to channel 52.2, not just my show, everything Biz TV has to offer 24/7, 7 days a week, all for the cost of an antenna.
Wow,
Yeah.
Incredible. Bryan, I can't thank you enough, brother. I appreciate it. I enjoy always sitting down talking with you. So remember, folks, when in Arlington, buy, sell, and eat Arlington. Until next time, we'll see you on the Arlington Experience.